The 1950s were more than just a decade. They were a mindset. It was a time when the US was rebuilding dreams after the war, when optimism filled the air, and when Made in America actually meant something. Families were buying their first homes. Kids were riding bikes without helmets. Neighbors waved to the mailman, and folks actually knew each other's names. In this film, we'll take a slow, heartfelt ride through that world, exploring how people lived, worked, dressed, and dreamed. From Sunday dinners to shiny Cadillacs, from Elvis Presley to black and white TV, this was the era that shaped modern America. The 1950s American home was the heartbeat of everyday life. Post-war suburbs were booming, new houses popping up faster than you could say, neighborhood barbecue. White picket fences became the ultimate symbol of success. Inside, everything was spotless and full of color. Pastel kitchens, floral curtains, and that signature mid-century furniture that's making a comeback today. Every appliance felt futuristic. Dishwashers, toasters, washing machines. They weren't just tools, they were trophies. Families followed routine like clockwork. Breakfast at 7, dinner at 6. Dad came home in his suit and tie. Mom greeted him at the door. Kids played in the yard till sunset. On weekends, it was all about family time. Board games, picnics, or sitting on the porch talking about nothing and everything. Back then, peace wasn't something you searched for. It was built into the rhythm of life. If America had a heartbeat in the 1950s, it sounded like a roaring V8. The car wasn't just transportation. It was freedom, pride, and personality. Chevrolet Bel Air, Ford Fairlane, Cadillac Eldorado. These machines didn't just move people, they moved culture. Gas was cheap, parking was easy, and every highway felt like an open invitation. Teenagers met at drive-ins. Families took Sunday drives just to feel the wind. Even washing your car in the driveway was an event. Bucket of soapy water, country music on the radio, and neighbors waving as they passed. Those cars carried more than passengers. They carried the American dream itself. Music in the 1950s wasn't just background noise. It was the pulse of a generation. When rock and roll hit, it was like lightning. Elvis Presley, Buddy Holly, Chuck Berry, Little Richard. They didn't just sing songs, they rewrote the rules. Parents called it the devil's music. Teenagers called it freedom. Every diner had a jukebox glowing in neon. Every dance floor was packed, and every song felt like rebellion wrapped in rhythm. Even those who weren't into rock had their favorites. Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole, or the sweet sound of jazz and swing on a lazy afternoon. Every melody had meaning. Every lyric had heart. Music connected America, across generations, across towns, across dreams. Nothing says 1950s America quite like food. This was the birth of the diner. Chrome counters, red stools, and waitresses calling you hon. Drive-ins were the hangout spot. Burgers sizzling on the grill, milkshakes thick enough to stand a spoon, fries passed around the car. McDonald's had just opened its first franchises, and suddenly, fast food became part of everyday language. At home, though, it was all about tradition. Mom's casseroles, Dad's carving knife, Jell-O salads, mashed potatoes, and homemade pies cooling by the window. Every family dinner was sacred. No screens, no distractions, just laughter and stories. And when the milkmen dropped off fresh bottles at dawn, that was the sound of comfort. Television was the new hearth of the home. Families gathered around glowing black and white screens to watch I Love Lucy, The Honeymooners, or Leave It to Beaver. It was a shared experience. Everyone laughed together. Everyone cried together. Kids raced home to catch Howdy Doody, while adults tuned in for The Ed Sullivan Show. TV brought the world into living rooms, from news to comedy to unforgettable live performances. Drive-in theaters were pure magic. The smell of popcorn, the glow of headlights, and maybe, just maybe, a first kiss in the back seat. Hollywood was thriving too. James Dean was the cool rebel. Marilyn Monroe, the golden dream. And in every small-town cinema, movie nights felt like stepping into another world. The 1950s had style, timeless, confident, and effortlessly cool. Men wore suits, hats, and polished shoes even on weekends. Women embraced elegance, bright dresses, red lipstick, and pearls that glimmered under every kitchen light. But teenagers? They changed everything. The poodle skirt, the leather jacket, the slicked back hair. Youth culture had arrived. It was the first time young people weren't trying to dress like their parents. They were setting the trends. Clothing ads sold more than fabric. They sold dreams. Everyone wanted to look like they had their life together, even when they were just figuring it out. What truly defined the 1950s wasn't the cars or the clothes or even the music. It was the values. Hard work, respect, family, community. People helped their neighbors. Kids played until the streetlights came on. You could leave your doors unlocked and borrow sugar from next door without hesitation. Of course, the decade wasn't perfect. There were struggles, social divides, and growing pains that history would later face head-on. But beneath it all, there was a sense of unity, a shared belief that tomorrow could be brighter. That belief, that hope, is what made the 1950s so unforgettable. It wasn't just about living the dream, it was about believing in it. If this trip down memory lane brought back a smile, hit that like button and share it with someone who remembers those good old days. Drop a comment below. What's one thing from the 50s you wish we still had today? And don't forget to subscribe for more peaceful journeys into the past, because sometimes the best way to move forward is to look back.